And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad to be back. Welcome to the Ertha Early Beta Patch 0.1.1 coverage broadcast. Most of you already know me. I'm Aeon, the lead community manager of Ertha, and of course joining me today is the man himself, Game Master Linus. Linus, how are you feeling today?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Linus, and for those who are tuning in for the first time, I'm the creator of Ertha. So I'm looking forward to having a brief checkup with our community today to answer some questions and, to demonstrate what's in today's update.
Great. All right. That's nice to hear. It's also nice to see we have a lot of viewers already joining us today. Thanks so much for being here, guys. It's awesome to see the Ertha community keep growing day by day. All right. So we are here to introduce Ertha Beta version 0.1.1 to our viewers and community. This is the first update in our upcoming series of updates, which will constantly add functionality and mechanics to the Ertha game. So without further ado, let's get started. Linus, could you briefly talk about what this update brings to the Ertha Early Beta? What are the most notable features and updates we're introducing?
Well, so the most notable feature in this update is that we are introducing the building interiors view, which is only a preview of what we want it to be. But we will show today a closer look at what is inside of a building, which Ertans will be able to own, to decorate, and to have their own NFT stuff inside. So we're also done with some visual optimizations for this update, like day and night shadows and gloom, which, with some additional work will be improved with the later versions. And now, we've also included an update to the cars that interact in the city, so they should be working much better now.
Yeah, Earthians used to crash a lot in their cars. It's like they don't have a driver's license or something, but we fixed that in this update. So what are the other things that developers are working on behind the scenes? Maybe some things that aren't quite as visible to the eye?
Yeah, just because, this update shows people the visual aspect of the game, which, we are able and ready to show. However, there are a lot of work under the hood, with all the logic for the Hex and City generator, the economical and political rule sets. All of this work is not really visible in the game yet, but it will be in the future updates.
Exactly, because there's a lot of work in these procedural hex generation algorithms and the logic behind it. So obviously it takes a long time to get things perfect, and we don't just want to rush out an unfinished product where landowners, we need to polish the generation so that landowners can already see their hexes at the best, in the best possible way. So alright, so keep in mind that the update is already live on the Ertha Globe, so all of you viewers are welcome to check it out for yourselves and let us know what you think. And let's just quickly go over the schedule of today's event. So in just a few moments, we'll start our AMA, which is going to follow the same format as our previous live AMA. For the first segment, we've selected five questions from Twitter that Linus is going to answer. Then for the second segment, all of you will be able to ask questions right here in Twitch chat, and we'll answer as many as we can during a certain time period. After the AMA concludes, we'll jump right in game and showcase the update, so make sure to stay tuned till the very end. Alright, Linus, are you ready to start with the first question for the first segment of the AMA?
Of course, I'm happy to start.
Alright, so let's just jump right into it. So the first question comes from Freyas7, and he wants to know, how is the hex supply calculated, and how do you want to make sure that enough players come in to populate all of the hexes?
Yeah, so the whole globe is divided into more than 350,000 land hex plots, which cover the globe perfectly. So, however, we are not releasing all of these hexes to the market. Currently, we have around 24,000 owned hexes and another 11,000 available to select from. And this in total is not more than 10% of the total supply. So we are building algorithms which will help us populate the newcomers to the hexes in a fair way. So we will make sure that the game is engaging with the amount of players that we have, but there's a lot of room to grow if we have more of them coming.
All right, perfect. Let's just jump in straight to the second question from Whunter 000. They want to know, what features are we planning to release in beta targeting players without hexes? What will be the benefits to bring them on board before the full release of the game?
Yeah, so our first preview is the things that we are releasing, which are focused to show, how we build our code base from the one that we had before to Unity game engine, and to test everything on how it would run in a browser environment. So we use this data to make decisions for further developments. And in our later upcoming releases, we actually plan to directly target our landowners, so that they would be able to see the value of Ertha land and to know that before it's tradable. And we are currently working on characters, their creation and design, which might come up in the upcoming update, and it will target all the players. So I think it will indeed make this demo much more enjoyable, and in a way it will target those players that don't have hexes.
All right, so basically the plan is for the first part of this beta, we're going to really make sure that landowners get their features first, and then we start thinking about all the non-landowners, introducing more features for them, but we'll still have features that are usable for both sides of the coin, so to say.
Indeed, that's the plan.
All right, wonderful. Moving on, straight to the third question from Computer Guys. And he wants to know, he says, you have mentioned every construction in the game will be an NFT. Will some properties be limited, for example, airports or ports, or will it be possible for almost all hexes to have them?
Well, first of all, to build a building or any item to say in the game, which or all of them will be NFTs, you will need a blueprint to do that. So it will also cost energy. You will have to use resources and money to build it. And not to mention that even getting a blueprint of something like airport or port will be really hard. So, answering this question, even though we are not manually locking certain hexes only to be able to have airports or ports, it will not make any strategic sense to spend immense amounts of money or other resources just to put them in all of the hexes in all of the globe. So upon the launch, landowners who already have purchased the airports and ports will have a big advantage here, since it will take some time for others to be able to get an airport or port to build anywhere else.
So basically, to recap, first of all, to build something, you're going to have to need a blueprint, which is not easy to get by no means. And then it needs to make economical sense to actually use that blueprint to build let's say an airport somewhere specifically. Let's say if there are already 3 airports nearby, it probably doesn't make much economical sense to just plop down an airport right there. Right, that's basically the idea, that the game will self-balance. The players will be in charge of the balancing, because they're not just going to want to spend money on decisions that aren't going to lead to economical profits, basically.
Exactly. So if you want to have an airport, that means you want to be able to travel faster from a longer distance. And if you have an airport in nearby location, bringing it to your location and spending a lot of money to do that, it does not really make much sense. Obviously, some people might want to do that for various reasons, but it will cost a lot, so I don't think many of the players will be able to do that.
All right, exactly. Okay, let's move on to the fourth question from Henrique Zorbat. He wants to know, will every career study be available for every country? If yes, will countries with less universities have more careers available?
No, that's not the case. However, all of the basic studies will be available in all countries. Even though, a country will have to work collectively to increase its technological and scientific level to unlock the advanced studies that are available in our game. So some of the countries will have more advanced studies, and some of them will have less advanced. It all depends on the clans and alliances that form, and the way players play inside a country. If they do well, they are able to unlock all the studies. So each and every country has an opportunity to have them, but it will be different. Yeah.
So basically, it follows the same Ertha formula as pretty much every other system in game, that the players will be responsible to actually work together. So it's the whole socioeconomic aspect for countries to work together and increase the knowledge, the scientific level of their country and alliances and things like that.
Indeed. So if you don't work as a country together, you might, reach some personal goals, but that will mean you will be limited in some kind of an infrastructural or scientific way.
Exactly. And just to speculate here, I assume some countries are going to be much more technologically advanced than others, and that could lead to some interesting situations like the bordering countries wanting to separate from their own country and join the other country due to like border shifts, wars, and things like that. So I assume this is going to introduce just a whole new dynamic of why you need to go to political conflict, to war, things like that. Basically, this scientific level of a country.
Yeah. I believe that, there are a lot of people who really love their countries and they will work for their country to be on the top of the lists. However, there will be some, people who are the children of the world who will find, the best country to live in and create their own wealth there.
Exactly. All right, so moving on to the fifth question. So it comes from Act Like George, and he wants to know, in terms of competition, who do you see as your real competitors in this space, in this metaverse space?
Yeah, that is a hard question. So it depends on what you compare. In terms of community size or crypto adoption, there are like many competitors which we see and we look up to. And in terms of gameplay, well, we are creating a vast world with unique approach, so it's really hard to compare. We focus on creating a new type of game that will integrate strategic gaming concepts from the games such as Civilization, but it also takes in the opportunities of the metaverse in the games such, well, even as Blocktopia, And we have a lot of indirect competition from the likes of Sandbox or Decentraland, but well, with this emerging market, it makes more sense to see them as partners rather than competitors. We are all expanding the same horizons.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to say. That really, this metaverse space is just so still in its infancy, basically, and it's really up to all projects to really make it take off. And no matter what our direct competitors are or indirect competitors, we're all making the space bigger, we're all growing it, and we're all just gonna reap the benefits in the future, basically. So all right,
I do think so, yeah.
All right, so looks like that concludes our first segment of our live AMA. The people had the chance to submit these questions on Twitter. Now it's time for all of you to post your questions in the chat during the break. Just a reminder that after the second segment concludes, we'll jump right into the Ertha beta and we'll talk more about the update. So guys, you can start posting your questions now and stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Ertha Beta 0.1.1 update coverage stream. Thank you for your questions during the break. We've selected quite a few to answer, and after these ones, we'll probably still take more from chat. So, all right, Linus, should we start?
Sure, let's jump in.
All right, so going straight to the first question. Are we going to be able to create custom-made blueprints with our own twist?
Interesting question. In a way, I think yes, we will be able to make the blueprints a bit random when you actually generate them as a scientist. However, most of them will be the same.
All right, gotcha. Then the second question comes from Sweet Mank, and he wants to know if there will be sound and what kind of sound will there be in the Ertha Beta.
Yeah, it was one of the things that we didn't want to release without having something that we would like. So we've skipped it from the beta, but yeah, we will have sound. That's an obvious thing for a game to have. We are just, trying to find the right soundtrack for it and to have, the right clicks and stuff that you do when you browse around the UI, and obviously when you see cars going around, that they would have the ambience in it. So we are working on it, and we will possibly give somewhat an update really soon.
All right, and I'm sure some people don't know that, well, sound in the game, it maybe sounds simple, just put on a soundtrack, but in reality, there are so many things and sound snippets you need to manage correctly that it's really no easy task we can just slap together in a few days. So, yeah, we're taking the time to really just make it good, make it listenable to, and yeah. All right, moving on to the third question from Mini KUC. He wants to know, can we select specific taxes for specific persons? For example, can we lower tax for the guild members but not for other people?
I must say we don't yet have that in our roadmap, but having a question like that, actually, I think we could do something like that. I will see how it looks like in our the way it works. It should be able to do that without doing any damage, but you always have to check if something doesn't work. So yeah, it is a good idea. I think we will use it.
All right, so moving on to the next question. What's the approximate time of the hex development update? So I'm assuming they mean generating hexes for landowners.
Yeah, generating hexes will be done in, let's say, phases. We will not open all the hexes at once. We want each hex to be, as perfect as possible, and the landowners who have them, currently there are 24,000 of them, we will release the ones that we know that are working correctly, while still keeping our work on the ones that are, let's say, problematic. And in time, I think it's somewhere in 2 months' time when we will have most of them up. But it's all in process, and sometimes you have those things that where you have a generator generating a hex, and the algorithm sometimes gets some weird, let's say, Easter egg kind of stuff where you have to really look through all of those hexes to see some weird stuff going on. So we are browsing through them. We are, making sure that our algorithm works correctly for all of them. And we will give some space for the landowners to actually customize their own hexes, not only to get them in a certain way, but to have, their own impact on them. Obviously, hexes like the center of Paris or like the pyramids will need to have some specific buildings that correspond to those locations, and we're also working on them. So it's possible that those will be the ones that will go out. Let's say the farthest away from what we have now, and the ones that are simple will be the ones that will be first.
All right, sounds good. So basically, we're just trying to polish the generation system to not make the Nevada desert an ocean for it. Well, I'm sure it's not that obvious, but there are still some quirks to just figure out and make sure it works fine.
Oh, yeah. There are some crazy funny stuff when, it would make a lot of sense for a human not to do that, but when you have an algorithm, it might, make a middle of the ocean in a desert. So, you have to do something really correctly to, you might make a fix in a city and then see that it changes the woods. So, yeah.
All right, exactly. Okay, moving on to the next question. This time from Eatery. They want to know, while presenting in the last AMA, while presenting the bakery, Lena said he could host up to 3 players to work there. As owners, we'll be able to hire bots to complete the work. So I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to say here, but I'm sure he's asking whether you'll be able to hire AI or bots in your firm, for example, a bakery.
Our goal is not to have those. So in our idea, you would have 3 people who are actually working in it. So you are posting a job, let's say, job offer into the job marketplace, where other players who want to earn some money actually apply for the job, and they use their energy to produce, let's say, the bread for you in the bakery. So, in a way, no. But you've also mentioned an airport. So airports are not the places where we spend energy to produce something. It is a place where people can travel further distances using less energy and paying a bit of money to do that. So it's like... it's not a place where you hire people.
All right, perfect. Okay, let's jump into the next question from Carlos Adestrador. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. He wants to know, what advantage does a non-landowner player take from the beta to the full game launch?
Well, I do believe that's the main advantage that you all guys here have, and girls. So it is that you see how we are creating it. You feel the game the way that it's being built and what we are planning to do, and you can have your own strategies, which is the most important part of this game to have before we have the full launch, which will include all the economy and the token stuff. So I think that's the main advantage that all the guys here have. Obviously the landowners have more advantages since they will have more stuff to do in the beta, but that doesn't mean that those who don't lose a lot. So they actually see how we are developing it, they learn the rules, they understand what could possibly be the right strategies to use in the game, and that's the goal of the whole game.
Exactly, and they can join alliances, they can start forming friendships, maybe they can even get a position, a job offer, even way before we release that sort of mechanic. So really just by being here, you're already a step ahead of everyone that joins tomorrow, basically. So
obviously also there are like alliances that are forming at the moment, and those alliances will be the ones that share common knowledge between them inside of their fellow members, and that will have them an advantage over others. All
right, exactly. Let's jump to the next question. Can only countries attack each other, or will it be possible to capture a hex with some people? So not a country attacking other hexes. Would that be possible?
There will be possible to have some sort of wars without countries, where you could potentially attack a building and do damage to it, or try to steal some resources from a warehouse or something like that. But the hex logic behind it is built for countries, where if a country owns a hex, they will be able to set their own taxes there and get revenue from it.
All right, wonderful. Moving on to a question from Night Digger. Regarding blueprints, how many buildings can I build with one blueprint? Is it one per blueprint, or can I have as many as I want, as long as I have the resource for it?
Yeah, that's probably a good question to ask here. So the answer is you will be able to build as many buildings as you want, as if you would have a secret on how to build them.
Okay, so basically those who own blueprints are going to be basically contractors that will trade with other players to build buildings for them. That's a definite possibility, right? For someone to own a blueprint, and then he offers that blueprint as a service to someone. He doesn't necessarily give the blueprint away, but he builds a building somewhere else, right? Is that in the idea?
The idea is kind of similar. It's in a way where you have a blueprint, you will have to, let's say, install it into a company, and that company is able to produce that item and or building, whatever. So you will have to, you will not be able to have several companies doing the same thing with one blueprint, but that doesn't limit you on how many buildings or items one company could produce from that building, from that blueprint.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, moving on to a question from Ghost. He wants to know, if you sell a land hex with buildings on it, do you keep the buildings as they are separate NFTs, or are they sold along with the hex?
So actually the ones who buy the lands at the moment with the cities and the items which are a lot pricier than, let's say, buying an empty hex, you actually get a pack of other NFTs which are the buildings, which will be placed inside for free, essentially for a price that you paid, since that hex was pricier for you. And when you sell that hex, you will be able to choose whether you want to sell it separately or with the buildings. So it means, you can sell it separately.
So will buildings somehow be movable, or are those building NFTs then permanently locked to the hex? Because I assume you just can't push a skyscraper to a different hex, right? So they will not be, let's say, movable easily, but you will be able to demolish a building, get some of the resources back, and then use those resources to build the building somewhere else. So. All right. Moving on to the next question. Aldraz1 wants to know, did we manage to solve the problems with multiple users? Will it support hundreds of thousands of players?
The last time we had an interesting test where one of our parts of our servers were not capable of delivering enough with the people who tried to join, but we fixed it. We actually changed where we host our servers, and that was fixed with the last update that we had.
All right, moving on. A question from Nox. They want to know if we already have a 50% airport, will we need a blueprint to upgrade it to 100%, or is it just resources and time?
Upgrading will require resources and time. Since the building is already built, it will not need a blueprint. But there will be different types of buildings. So if you will want to, let's say, have a similar building, you will need a blueprint to do that. So, yeah.
All right, and jumping straight into the next question, will we be able to play on the Moon and Ertha at the same time, or one at a time?
Well, your character will be able to travel between Moon and Ertha in a way. So that character will have a specific location where he is. However, the metaverse is a new thing, so that what I'm saying, we might find a better way to do that. But currently, I think that we will have like the player located in either Ertha or Moon at the same time.
All right, so let's just wrap this up with a couple more questions, and we'll jump straight into the game. Let's say a question from RC Olato. Will we be forbidden to create multi-accounts? If yes, how do we intend to do so?
Since I've played a lot of games myself, I've went through all the phases where I was multi-account maker myself. Well, in a way, I know it's not possible to make it so that you wouldn't be able to do that exactly. Well, so we are doing it in a way so that it wouldn't be possible to gather resources from 100 players and to post them into one player. This is the thing that would make it, not fun to play. So our goal is to make it as fun to play for everyone as possible, and we will make sure it's hard to do that, and it will be banned by our rules. But there are always some really smart people out there who are able to do some bots and stuff who are able to bypass that, but it will definitely be quite hard.
All right, so let's just go straight to the last question, and then we'll just jump straight into game and showcase the update. So the last question comes from Richie. Can a 50% airport fly international? Or I would expand this question as to what do the percentages of airports, how do they limit the travel distance, or what do they limit?
Yeah, that's exactly what people have already answered. So the percentage of the airport means how well it is upgraded, and the most upgraded airport will be able to reach longer destinations, and the less of an upgraded airport you have means the hex distance that you have around your hex is limited in a way. So with having a low percentage airport, that will not really be possible to go like between countries if they are big.
So you can't fly from New York to Australia from a 25% airport, basically. Is the idea.
Obviously not.
Yeah,
obviously not.
Exactly. All right, guys. So I think it's time to wrap up our AMA. Thank you so much for all of your questions. It's always awesome to talk directly to the community. And, now after a very short intermission, we'll jump straight into the Ertha Beta update version 0.1.1 and showcase what we have in store. So make sure to follow at Ertha Game on Twitter, join our Discord channel at discord.gg/Ertha, and make sure to follow the Twitch channel. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And here we go, Earthians. We're diving straight into the Ertha Beta Patch 0.1.1, which introduced interiors to the game. Like we mentioned before, there were quite a few other additions, and the building interiors are also viewable in first person. So, Linus, just take the showcase away, and let's see what we have in store.
Yeah, thanks, Aeon. So, let's go through some little updates that we did. We did update quite a lot the way the hazes look like and the way the time works. So we have the sun shining from different kinds of locations, and we can see the when we open the city, we'll always open it in the middle of the day so that people wouldn't be afraid to see, the city, which is dark. Sometimes it's not the best view of the city. So yeah,
because it was based on their computer time, right? It was based on their local time. At least it was for me.
Kind of, yeah. It was based on our server time. So if you live close to our server, it would be identical. But yeah, now we made it so that when you open the hex, you completely jump in the middle of the day. You can always change it back, with the time slider here, and to see, how it will look like in the dark. But in a way, our goal is to make each of these hexes, dependent on the real location that it is. So when we launch the game, if that hex will be in real time, in real world at night, you will connect it to tonight. But since it's for a demo purpose, we use it to, get the best view possible.
And the shadows were also fixed to just not fall in a straight line like they did before.
Indeed.
That would probably not make too much sense in a world that's round, maybe if we were living on a flat Earth, maybe then. But yeah, they were fixed. True. And the game looks much better. The shadows just fall much more naturally, basically. Also, from what I've been able to see, there was a change to the color scheme. Yes. Colors are more bright. They pop out much more, a bit more crispy on the shadows, and especially during the night, there's much more bloom in the lights that the buildings turn on, exactly like you can see here on the screen. So it's the hex feels much more alive, so to say.
Yes. These are all visual updates, obviously not something that we have from the logic side, but we just want the game to feel as if you are there. It's not a super high realistic game, but you will feel the city the way it is, the time that is there, the haze that is there, the birds flying, the planes flying, the cars driving around, and later on the people who live there, so that you would see that it is either it is an abandoned city or it is a live city. So that's our goal to reach.
Exactly. So basically, it will be up to landowners to make their city as active as possible, to generate as much revenue as they can. Because the more activity there is, obviously there's the opportunities to generate revenue.
Yes. So jumping into other updates that we had. So let's see how those building interiors work. We have a skyscraper who has an ability to enter inside it. So when you click this button, you will see, let's say, telemarketing experts firm here, which are the view what you would have as an office or as a company. So probably jumping into the most exciting part is that you can also jump inside that view. So that means you will be able to, let's say, decorate it the way you want. You will be able to have your own NFT stuff inside here. Most of it is pretty like visual stuff, not something that you would see in let's say a company that would let's say do bread. But since this is a telemarketing company, you see desks, you see stuff where other people will work, and it is built so that you would understand there will be workplaces. You will be able to hire people. With upcoming updates, you will be able to see other people who are interacting with this world, also with you. We have quite a lot of stuff being built at the moment, like how your character will look like, how you will see others, and it all will start making much more sense, but we are just showing the capabilities of what we can do in a browser environment and what kind of experience you can get from playing Ertha.
Exactly. So you mentioned browser environment. So we're still planning to introduce an Ertha client at some point in development, right? So I assume this will be just even more in depth once the browser limitation is removed.
Indeed. We are looking. We are solving several problems at once. So one problem is to have as easy ability to enter the game as possible, and to be able to host from multiple devices, so that you wouldn't have to have a specific OS and specific device to actually enter the game. And also we want to make sure that it is enjoyable to play it. So some of the stuff will be limited on the browser views, but when we release a desktop app, we will be able to, get, better shaders and stuff that will make it a better graphically looking game. And potentially we will also have some of those, some of the actions that you can do in the game will be limited to only downloading the app. Well, if we will have a huge war where we have thousands of players on one hex, that will potentially mean that if you are in a browser environment, you will be able to view something like stats from what's going on, like live view. But to actually participate in it, you will have to have a full desktop app, which will use all of your computer resources to do that. And yeah, let's look at another building. So yeah, these are all governmental buildings, which mean that you would have your own houses which you could decorate. But if you have let's say an office, you can also have it the way you want it, and all of these items will be able to have our partners who might be able to get their own branded stuff, like logos on the let's say sides of the walls, and even the mugs that you see on the tables might be branded, and even those AirPods that are lying there might have some sort of a brand to it. So yeah,
makes sense, makes perfect sense. Basically the idea is to just give the players the tools to just make their interiors, make their homes, make their companies, their offices how they want it to be.
Exactly. So not all of the houses that we see here will have the building view, only a couple of them that we've added recently. With time, we will add more and more, and our goal is to have all of these buildings capable to be entered in with different types of interiors. And if you live in a certain building, you will be able to choose whether you want others to be able to view what you have. Well, usually people want to showcase their own, wealth that they have. But yeah, that's the idea here, to have others to look at your own property and maybe even copy some stuff that you will be able to build on your own.
Yeah, makes perfect sense for players to really show off their creativity, first with their character, then with their player homes, then with their businesses, firms. So Ertha is really a way to, one of the features is to just express your creativity as much as you can, because there are going to be a lot of customization options that will basically make it possible for each Erthian to be unique.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, these are mostly office spaces that we have here. Our players will be able to own their own. So I'm really eager to see how well people will use our stuff that we will allow, and what kind of let's say interior designers we have out there.
True, exactly. Yeah, people could turn that into a profession, right? They could ask for Ertha tokens to come and make a beautiful design on their new hotel or company or something. That would be quite interesting. So like you mentioned, these interiors are the plan is to have all buildings have some sort of an interior, and so I assume if a player owns a city hex and he'll receive the city buildings upon the generation of his hex. I assume that includes some form of interiors as well. Probably basic ones, but still, right? They're going to have an interior.
Yeah, they will have like, let's say, basic interior, which will be possible to upgrade. So yeah, this is why it takes a bit more time to actually produce those hexes. We have buildings, we have inside interiors, and some of those we try to find as much as possible to have let's say customizability on them. We see here a big hex, which is let's say a city which has even skyscrapers, but we will have the whole world to us, which means there will be towns, there will be places like deserts where you have only, let's say, oil mines on there. There will be like let's say different type of countries out there, and some countries look a bit different than others. They have different types of houses, and we are working with our designers who are producing a way to have let's say not basic type of houses, but also stuff like Asian types and others, so the ones that have an ability to, they have different types of buildings in real world, so we will try to make that into our metaverse also.
Exactly, because something like New York is obviously so different in the structure of their cities and in their buildings than, for example, Iran or Japan. So it's completely different, and we need the time to basically get these things right. So, and actually, I just saw a comment from Ghost. He wants to know, will the desks and chairs be NFTs as well?
We'll see that with upcoming updates,
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, basically. Yes. And actually, another good comment in the chat is a person hopes that there will be sports inside the game. For example, you could create leagues, competitive international, local leagues for players, playing like specific sports like basketball, football. So is that something we'll look towards to in the future?
To tell you the truth, we will have an ability to have a custom character. So a custom character means you will have your own traits, you will have your own, let's say, personal stats, which you will be able to train. So we are working hard to build it in the idea that we had, where you will be able to be a strong player. That means you will be able to defend your own building, defend your own country, and the other players who would potentially be focusing on having a high IQ would be the ones who train their mind to increase the technological level of the country, and the ones that are businessmen who will employ other people and produce all the goods that are in the game. So we try to find a way to create it in the whole ecosystem that would work with each other, and it will potentially later on include stuff like sports that are not directly integrated into the game. and we might collaborate with other games, which potentially could mean that when you see a sports stadium, you could use your character or use your NFTs to travel to another game, which is, for example, a basketball game. Sky's the limit in Metaverse. It kind of is a groundbreaking idea to connect different games that are usually not even possible to connect. So this is the type of space we're in, and I'm really looking forward to our all partners and other games who would potentially want to collaborate and find ways to do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Having players that can hop into the metaverse, earn revenue, then just hop into a basketball game in another game, and then go into a baseball game, then kick around the ball in a match of football. So, like you said, the possibilities really are endless here, and it's just a matter of time before, most of these awesome ideas that didn't seem to be possible just a few years ago get introduced into these metaverse and the Ertha metaverse.
Yes. So that's exactly what we're looking into. We want to create the idea that we had, and then the sky's the limit. Exactly. So we will find a good ways to collaborate with other games, and I think most of these games will be really interested to have these interconnecting metaverses.
Yeah, so could we remind everyone what's next? What should people expect in the next bi-weekly development update? Could we just drop some hints about that? I know we've talked about it before. Maybe just a reminder for everyone?
Yeah, so we're working hard to create characters which you will be able to customize. So that's upcoming to another update, which will be after 2 weeks, right?
And so we mentioned at the start of this of the stream that we also work on back end things as well as the front end. So the things you see versus the things you don't. So just to reiterate, so in the background, hex generation algorithms are being worked on. All the logic of the political sphere of the game. So basically, these things that you're not yet able to see are being worked on in the background. Since they're not visual things, it's obviously hard for us to showcase them, but basically you're going to be able to see the progress being made as we go through these development updates. Yep.
Yeah, indeed. There are a lot of updates that we do which are basically logic behind, which will make sense when we have other visual stuff available. But now it's more like we have to wait for our front end devs to catch up with us, So with what we had, built over those years. So we are doing our best. Actually, we had the whole front end already built, with a browser environment where you didn't have, whole 3D graphic experience. So what we're doing now is completely new. We are rebuilding half of the stuff that we already had, but we want to create a great metaverse to have, and something that would potentially be interesting to be at for years. So that's why we bring a lot of attention to these details.
So one more interesting question from the chat, and I think then we can just wrap this up, this walkthrough. So Night Digger asks whether maybe we'll be able to drive our own cars, or will we run everywhere? Do you want to talk about that?
Well, currently you can jump on the cars and ride around the city, right? We are thinking on ways when we will have a character available. We are thinking on interactions that it will have with the space. It's not directly something that is strategic, this is something that you can do like an action inside the video game, but yeah, it would be awesome to jump into a car like on GTA or something like that.
Yes,
it's not
exactly.
It's not that difficult to do that, but it requires a lot of attention to make it correctly,
Exactly, and well, we want to see some people in Lambos. You know, I'm sure some people will want to show off that social status. You know, just pulling up in a yellow Lamborghini. So, I'm sure that's something we can look into. So yeah, do you have anything else you want to talk about or add, or should we just wrap this up?
You know, we are going to do these updates bi-weekly, just as we said, and we are going to make this a better and a better version. As you see, this is a preview of what we are building. It's not the final version that you will see. We are just at the start of our journey, and I really appreciate all the people who are with us and who help us, who give great feedback. So we are all here for a common goal, and I really believe we will reach it.
All right, wonderful. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Make sure to hit that follow button here on Twitch. Follow us at twitter.com/ErthaGame and join our Discord at discord.gg/Ertha. So look forward to more Ertha Beta update coverage events just like this one. We'll try to do one pretty much every single time there is something to talk about, every time there's a sizable bi-weekly update. So yeah, Lunas, any final words?
Yeah, so, well, I'm happy with everyone tuning in, and, we are constantly updating the game. I'm really eager to see you next time we tune in on Twitch to show our updates, and so stay tuned and, see you all.
Great. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care, and see you in the next one.